people fear being boring. They chase excitement, chaos, constant validation, anything to avoid being seen as ordinary. But here's the truth no one tells you. Being boring is a secret form of power. It's what separates the strong from the weak, the disciplined from the distracted, the men who conquer themselves from those who are enslaved by their impulses. Think about it. The world celebrates noise, parties, scandals, drama. Everyone is addicted to movement without meaning. Yet the most unshakable men in history, the ones who built empires and changed civilizations, were not defined by chaos, but by stillness, by their ability to do the same boring thing every single day until mastery became inevitable. A man who is consistent, who can wake up early, train, study, build his craft and repeat that cycle without needing constant stimulation, he becomes unstoppable. Because while everyone else burns themselves out chasing the next high, he builds quietly, patiently, relentlessly. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, was not remembered for his parties or entertainment. He is remembered for his journals, his discipline, his refusal to let the chaos of the empire control his soul. Seneca, Epictetus. These men knew the power of simplicity. They knew that if your life is filled with endless drama, you are not free. You are a slave to it. Being boring means you don't need to be everywhere with everyone all the time. It means you choose depth over distraction, growth over gossip, peace over chaos. To outsiders it looks dull, but beneath that silence is steel. Beneath that routine is power. Imagine two men. One spends his nights in clubs chasing validation, drinking until his spirit is numb. The other sits at his desk working on his dream, training his body, sharpening his mind. 10 years later, one has wasted a life, the other has built an empire. Who is boring now? The Stoics taught us that real strength is not in how loud you live, but in how controlled you are. The man who can say no, who can sit with himself without needing constant entertainment is rare. And because he is rare, he is powerful. So the next time someone calls you boring, smile. Let them laugh while they waste their years. You are not here to entertain the world. You are here to master yourself. And that quiet, steady discipline will take you further than all the chaos in the world ever could. If this message hit you deep, subscribe and like this video, because you and I both know you're not here to live a shallow life. You're here to build something eternal. And that's where true transformation begins, not in the thrill of the moment, but in the slow, invisible grind of daily effort. The world will never glorify patience because patience cannot be sold. It cannot be marketed. It doesn't glitter. It doesn't shout, but it builds kingdoms within a man. Every quiet hour of discipline compounds into strength the loud cannot comprehend. The man who learns to sit in silence without needing distraction has already conquered more than those who scream for attention. Because silence is the realm of the few, the sacred place where real growth takes root. When the noise fades, when the applause dies, when the crowd moves on to the next shiny thing, the man of stillness remains. He's not chasing, he's not proving, he's simply becoming. That's the paradox of boredom. It refines you while the world forgets you. Then one day, the world wakes up and realizes it was you all along who built the things they depend on. Boring men build the world. They are the architects behind every great system, the thinkers behind every great empire, the ones who grind while others gossip. They don't crave attention because they understand the law of time. Attention fades, mastery doesn't. A disciplined mind doesn't seek to be seen, it seeks to be sharp. The crowd calls it dull because they cannot stand the mirror of their own inconsistency. But the man who embraces monotony learns what others never will. Progress is not a burst, it's a rhythm. The same rhythm, repeated, perfected, endured until it becomes identity. That is how empires rise, not through chaos, but through order. Every morning you wake up and choose routine over impulse. You are rewiring your destiny. Every time you pick focus over noise, You are separating yourself from 99% of the world. You see, boredom is the training ground of gods. It's where you learn to rule your instincts, to detach from the need to be entertained. It's where you become dangerous in silence. The man who can work alone without applause becomes immune to the manipulations of the world, because nothing hooks him. Not fame, not pleasure, not validation. He operates from an inner gravity that cannot be shaken. That's why the Stoics were feared and respected. They could not be bought by pleasure or broken by pain. They were immovable, and immovable men are the foundation of civilization. You think power is about movement, but power is about control, and control is born from routine. A king who cannot master his mornings cannot rule an empire. A general who cannot endure repetition cannot win wars. The same applies to you. You want to be powerful. Learn to do the same thing every day without emotion. Wake, train, work, learn, build, reflect, repeat. The world calls that boring. The wise call it destiny. Because while they chase highs, you build heights. While they look for meaning, you create it. While they escape themselves, you confront yourself. Look around you. Every man who ever became great was once ignored. His habits were mocked. His discipline misunderstood. People called him obsessive, detached, cold. Yet those same people would one day worship the results of his boring days. The problem is not that people fear boredom. It's that boredom exposes their weakness. When the noise is gone, they face themselves, and most men can't handle that confrontation. But the man who stays still long enough to meet his mind becomes undefeatable. He learns the language of focus. He discovers the rhythm of patience. He realizes that mastery isn't exciting. It's sacred repetition. Imagine what happens when you remove the need to be entertained. Suddenly, your time is yours again. Your energy returns. You begin to see what others don't because your mind is not scattered. The world loses its grip on you. The endless scroll, the gossip, the comparisons, they all dissolve. You become centered, deliberate, efficient. Your actions sharpen like a blade honed in still water. People won't understand it. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. But you'll know. You're not distant, you're directed. The difference between them and you is that they chase pleasure. You chase purpose. And that's what being boring truly means. Choosing purpose over performance. Choosing peace over popularity. It's walking away from the crowd to build something eternal in silence. It's studying while others sleep. Training while others party. Writing while others waste hours in noise. It's unglamorous, it's unseen. But it's unstoppable. Every page read, every rep completed, every moment resisted compounds into something monumental. The boring man doesn't seek a dopamine rush. He seeks dominion over himself, and that self-control radiates into every part of life. When others panic, he remains calm. When others crave, he remains composed. When others break, he bends and rebuilds. People call that dull. But dull steel is what makes the sharpest swords. The more you embrace simplicity, the more dangerous you become. Because now no one can distract you. No one can manipulate you. You are driven not by emotion but by direction. That's why the world fears quiet men. They cannot be read, cannot be controlled, cannot be broken. You look at them and see stillness. They are storms contained. Their power doesn't shout, it hums. Their victories aren't public, they're inevitable. And by the time the crowd notices, it's too late. The empire has already been built. So, when you find yourself repeating the same disciplined actions, don't seek novelty, seek depth. Each repetition digs a deeper foundation into your character. Each moment of stillness strengthens your inner fortress. Because consistency is not about doing more, it's about becoming more. The man who can find beauty in the ordinary has already transcended the need for stimulation. He's entered the realm of purpose, where boredom transforms into transcendence. He no longer asks for life to excite him. He excites life through creation. It's not the chaos that builds greatness. It's the calm. It's not adrenaline that forges strength. It's endurance. You don't become exceptional by seeking new things. You become exceptional by mastering the old things. You don't need to chase energy. You need to channel it. You don't need to be loud. You need to be lethal. The ones who learn that truth become unshakable. The world will call them boring until it kneels to what they've built. Because boredom is not the absence of meaning. It's the crucible where meaning is made. It's the silence before the symphony. The stillness before the strike. It's where boys who crave attention die, and men who crave mastery are born. It's where the restless mind is tamed, where the ego is broken, where true purpose is found. And once you've tasted that power, the noise of the world no longer tempts you. You move differently. You think deeper. You build quietly, knowing that the loud burn out, but the disciplined endure. And in the end, when the world looks for wisdom, for order, for truth, they will find it not in the chaos they once celebrated, but in the men who dared to be boring, the men who sat in stillness and shaped destiny with their own two hands. The ones who understood that real freedom is not doing whatever you want. It's having the strength to do what must be done every single day, even when no one is watching, even when no one applauds, even when it looks like nothing is changing, but everything is. And yet, most will never touch that silence, because they fear what lives inside it. They run from their own reflection, terrified that stillness might show them how shallow they've become. But if you dare to stop running, if you can stand in that quiet long enough to hear your own heartbeat, you'll realize the truth the ancients knew. Every great conquest begins within. Before you build an empire, you must first rule your mind. Before you influence others, you must first command yourself. And to command yourself, you must learn to love the quiet battles, the invisible hours, the work no one praises. That's where strength is carved. That's where destiny is whispered into existence. Stillness is not emptiness. It's the forge where chaos is melted down into order. It's the unseen arena where every disciplined soul wrestles his own demons and walks out transformed. You want to lead? Then learn to sit with nothing but your thoughts and not crumble. Learn to endure the desert of repetition without needing the rain of validation. Because the man who needs no audience cannot be defeated. His motivation is rooted too deep to be uprooted. He becomes his own fuel, his own storm, his own fire. That is what the world calls boring, but that is what eternity calls unbreakable. When the world crumbles under distraction, when attention becomes the new currency, the man who can stay focused becomes priceless. He's the one who finishes what others only start, who sees what others overlook, who builds what others abandon. Every hour he spends in focus compounds into power. Every small, dull task he repeats becomes a step in the architecture of mastery. What looks like stillness from the outside is actually motion in its purest form. The motion of evolution, of a mind sharpening itself against the grindstone of time. And this is the promise. If you can endure the boredom that breaks lesser men, you will unlock a life most can only dream of. You will move through chaos with calm precision. You will no longer react. You will respond. You will not chase. You will attract. You will stop being pulled by impulses and start being guided by principles. That is the hidden gift of monotony. It builds a mind that no longer bends under pressure, a spirit that no longer depends on mood to act. You become a force of nature, not loud but inevitable, not fast but unstoppable. Because the truth is, success is not a firework, it's a sunrise. It doesn't explode into brilliance, it grows quietly, minute by minute, while the world sleeps. And those who endure the long darkness before dawn are the ones who witness its light. The world will try to distract you, to convince you that meaning lies in movement, that speed equals progress, that popularity equals power. But you'll know better. You'll know that progress without direction is chaos wearing a crown. You'll know that the real game is not out there. It's in here, in the quiet corners of your mind where discipline meets doubt, where purpose meets fear, where you decide, again and again, to keep going. Every great warrior, philosopher, and builder shared the same secret. They were consistent to the point of madness. They turned monotony into meditation. Every repetition was a prayer. Every task a step toward immortality. You can call that boring, or you can call it divine. Because when a man repeats something long enough, he fuses with it. The archer becomes the arrow. The artist becomes the art. The thinker becomes the thought. And in that fusion, he transcends. The noise of the world can't reach him because he no longer operates in noise. He moves in rhythm, in purpose, in peace. But you have to be willing to pay the price, silence. The silence that feels like loneliness, but is actually transformation. The stillness that feels like stagnation, but is actually calibration. The boredom that feels like nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is happening beneath the surface. Just like a seed buried in the dark, your growth will be invisible before it's undeniable. The impatient dig up their own potential to check if it's working. The wise water it daily and let time do its work. The boring man becomes the fruitful one. The restless man remains rootless forever. And when people mock your pace, when they call you too quiet, too simple, too focused, smile. They are only expressing their fear of your freedom. They can't imagine a life without noise because their identity is built on distraction. They need chaos to feel alive. You, on the other hand, are learning to live without permission. You are mastering the rarest art, the art of self-command. You don't need to control the world when you can control yourself. You don't need every answer when you know your direction. You don't need endless excitement when you carry stillness like armor. The world will always belong to the ones who can wait, to the ones who can sit in the tension without escaping it. The crowd rushes for comfort. The wise build through discomfort. And that's the paradox. Your boredom is their blindness. What they see as dull is actually you tuning your instrument while they dance out of tune. When the moment of truth comes, when the world demands strength, only the disciplined will be ready. Because while the restless chase novelty, the focused sharpen necessity, and necessity wins every time. So how do you master this? You start by noticing your reactions. Every time you reach for your phone out of habit, that's a moment of weakness disguised as relief. Every time you abandon your plan for pleasure, that's your discipline decaying. But the moment you catch it, the moment you choose presence over impulse, you take back power, you rewrite your wiring, you teach your mind who's in charge, and slowly, your habits become soldiers of your will. That's how empires of character are built, not in grand gestures, but in small moments of mastery, repeated endlessly, without applause. To endure boredom, you must reframe it. Stop calling it dull, call it sacred. Stop calling it empty, call it pure, because in that simplicity lies your sharpness. Imagine a swordsmith. He doesn't swing wildly hoping for a perfect blade. He repeats the same strike, over and over, each one refining the steel. The process is repetitive, even monotonous. But through repetition comes precision. Through boredom comes brilliance. Life is no different. Every disciplined act polishes your edge. Every repeated effort burns away your weakness. Every moment you resist distraction, you are tempering your soul into something unbreakable. You must understand that the mind, left untrained, will always crave chaos. It feeds on motion because it fears reflection. But the disciplined man flips the script. He uses stillness as his weapon. He turns routine into ritual. He transforms boredom into focus. That's the problem most people can't solve. They think discipline kills freedom, but in truth, discipline creates it. The man who cannot control his habits is owned by them. The man who can sit in control of his mind can own worlds. And that's the promise of this path. If you choose consistency over craving, if you choose order over impulse, life will bend around your will. You'll stop chasing purpose and start creating it. You'll stop asking for clarity and start embodying it. The same stillness that once felt like prison will become your kingdom. You'll see what others miss, because you'll finally have eyes unclouded by distraction. You'll feel what others numb, because your senses will be sharpened by solitude. You'll move with intention, while others stumble with excitement. People will ask how you became so focused, so calm, so unshakable. They won't understand that your secret wasn't some secret at all. It was boredom, endured with purpose. It was 1,000 silent days, 1,000 unseen battles, 1,000 choices to stay the course when everyone else quit. And the beauty is, once you master this, you no longer need to preach it. You become living proof. Your presence itself becomes instruction. You radiate something rare, the quiet power of a man who no longer needs the world to feel whole. That's what true charisma is. Not noise, but gravity. The man who is comfortable in his stillness draws others without effort. Because people crave what they lack. The restless are drawn to the calm. The lost are drawn to the grounded. The chaotic are drawn to the ordered. Your silence becomes magnetic, your patience becomes influence. And that is the ultimate power. To lead without words, to move others without motion, to dominate not through aggression, but through alignment. But this kind of power cannot coexist with the addiction to excitement. You must choose one, the thrill of chaos or the thrill of control. One fades, the other compounds. One drains you, the other builds you. One gives you moments, the other gives you legacy. You cannot serve both. So decide what kind of man you wish to become. The one who entertains, or the one who endures. The world will always worship the loud, but history remembers the disciplined. The noise will tempt you. It will whisper that you're missing out. It will offer comfort disguised as connection, pleasure disguised as progress. But if you can resist, if you can keep your eyes on your purpose when everyone else is chasing attention, you will experience something they never will, inner sovereignty. The power to choose your own focus, to create your own meaning, to direct your own energy. That's the real freedom men spend lifetimes searching for. And once you find it, everything changes. You no longer need motivation, because purpose replaces it. You no longer fear solitude, because silence strengthens you. You no longer crave recognition, because mastery becomes its own reward. Every day becomes a chance to refine the inner empire, brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action. The man who can master the small moments will one day command the grand ones. The world will try to pull you back. It always does. But remember, every empire has its storms, every mind its noise, every man his demons. Your job is not to silence them. It's to master the rhythm beneath them. Because once you do, you'll see that boredom was never your enemy. It was your invitation to power, your teacher in disguise, your path to everything real, lasting, and eternal. And when that realization settles, when you finally understand that boredom was the crucible of transformation all along, something inside you shifts forever. You stop fighting the stillness and start listening to it. You start noticing the rhythm hidden beneath repetition, the poetry buried inside routine. You begin to see that the slow moments are not empty. They are alive with invisible construction. Every breath, every repetition, every quiet act of discipline becomes a brick laid in the architecture of your power. You are no longer running from the silence. You are building your throne within it. Because boredom is not the death of motion. It's the refining of direction. It strips away the noise that dilutes your strength. It leaves you with nothing but truth. And truth, at first, terrifies the unprepared. The truth that your weakness wasn't in your circumstances, but in your distractions. The truth that your potential wasn't hiding from you. It was buried under your comfort. The truth that the thing you've been searching for in the chaos of life has been waiting for you in the stillness all along. But most people never stay long enough to hear that whisper. They mistake silence for stagnation, and so they flee, never realizing they ran from the very medicine they needed. You must learn to stay, to sit in that quiet space where the mind begins to stir like a restless ocean, to feel the waves of discomfort and not move, to let the chaos crash and settle until only clarity remains. Because clarity is born after chaos dies. The man who cannot sit still will forever live in confusion. The man who cannot be bored will forever remain mediocre. The man who cannot delay gratification will forever serve those who can. And that is the simple, brutal truth the world hides behind its entertainment and noise, that the one who endures boredom longest wins. Imagine your mind like a wild horse. The untrained horse will throw you off the moment you tighten the reins. But if you stay on, if you endure the kicks, the panic, the thrashing, you will eventually earn its trust. And when you do, that same wild force becomes your greatest strength. The mind is no different. Discipline is not punishment. It's the process of taming chaos. The man who tames his own mind can ride any storm. The man who can control his own emotions can walk through fire without burning. The man who can find peace in repetition can find freedom anywhere. And here lies the paradox: the more you embrace the boring, the more alive you become. Because boredom is not the absence of excitement, it's the presence of mastery. It's what happens when the trivial no longer seduces you. You begin to see life with sharper vision. You start hearing the music others are too distracted to notice, the rhythm of patience, the hum of focus, the quiet pulse of purpose beating beneath every second. And in that realization, you awaken to something sacred. Your time is yours again. The world will try to steal it. It will offer you every glittering distraction dressed as opportunity. It will whisper that you're falling behind, that everyone else is moving faster, that stillness is failure. But understand this: speed means nothing without direction. The man who runs in circles ends up nowhere, no matter how fast he goes. You don't need to move faster, you need to move deliberately. One step taken in purpose is worth 1,000 taken in panic. The man of stillness is not slow, he's surgical. He wastes nothing, he misses nothing. He moves when it matters. And that's what makes him dangerous. Because in a world addicted to stimulation, a calm mind is terrifying. People will try to pull you into their noise, because your silence reminds them of their emptiness. They will try to provoke you, tempt you, distract you, anything to make you break that focus. But remember, every reaction is a leak of power. Every unnecessary movement is energy lost. The strong do not react, they observe. They do not chase, they attract. They do not panic, they prepare. The boring man becomes the rarest kind of warrior, the one who fights without frenzy and wins without noise. So how do you master this? How do you turn boredom into brilliance? You start by embracing rhythm. Turn your routine into ritual. Wake at the same hour. Train when you say you will. Work when it's hardest to work. Not because it's exciting, but because it's necessary. You don't train the body, you train the will. You don't sharpen the skill, you sharpen the soul. Every repetition is a reminder that your power doesn't come from mood. It comes from mastery. You show up not because you feel like it, but because that's who you are. This is the part most men fail to grasp. The boring life is not the empty life. It's the focused one. It's not about doing less. It's about doing what matters, again and again, until it carves itself into eternity. It's about building habits that become identity. You can't fake that. You can't shortcut that. You can't buy it. It's earned in silence, over years of doing what others avoid. And that's the beauty. The longer you endure, the fewer remain. Consistency has a way of filtering out the weak. By simply staying the course, you outlast most. But endurance is not mindless repetition. It's intelligent persistence. You must learn to observe your patterns, to measure your effort, to refine your process. Boredom gives you space for that reflection. It teaches you patience, but it also demands precision. Because repetition without awareness is stagnation. But repetition with awareness is evolution. Each day you return to the same discipline, but you do it with new understanding. You adjust, you improve, you rise. What looks like sameness from the outside is transformation in motion. And here's what no one tells you: the more disciplined you become, the more creative you become. Chaos doesn't create art, clarity does. The man who can focus deeply, who can endure the stillness of thought, will create ideas that move the world. His imagination is not scattered, it's sculpted. His mind becomes a blade that cuts through confusion. His emotions become instruments of creation, not chaos. That's the hidden promise of the boring life. It gives you back your genius. Because when the noise dies, the real voice finally speaks. And that voice, it doesn't scream. It whispers. It comes in fragments, in intuition, in insight. You can't hear it if you're always chasing the next distraction. You must be still enough to receive it. That's why boredom is sacred. It's the gateway to wisdom. It's where you remember who you are beneath all the noise. It's where your real ambitions rise from the depths, the ones not shaped by trends or validation, but by truth. And when you start living from that truth, every action becomes aligned, every moment charged with meaning. The weak man lives in reaction. The strong man lives in creation. The world tells you to keep moving, but movement without awareness is madness. Slow down, observe, build consciously. When you act from stillness, even your smallest steps carry the weight of destiny, because they come from alignment, not anxiety. That's the real secret. They don't teach you this in schools, in systems, in culture. They teach you to chase, not to become. But becoming requires stillness. Power requires boredom. Greatness requires waiting while others waste. You will lose people on this path. They'll call you cold, detached, obsessed. They won't understand that your obsession is not with control. It's with liberation. You're not escaping the world, you're mastering it. You're not running from pleasure, you're redefining it. Your joy will no longer come from chaos, but from control. Not from distraction, but from direction. Not from entertainment, but from evolution. And though it may seem lonely, that solitude is where true companionship with yourself begins. When you can sit alone and feel complete. When you can live in silence and still hear music. When you can repeat the same act every day and still feel purpose. You've transcended the modern sickness. You've become untouchable. You no longer chase fulfillment, you embody it. You no longer seek validation, you radiate it. You no longer beg for peace, you carry it. And that peace will move mountains, because nothing stands in the way of a man who is internally ordered. And the world will notice. Quietly at first. They won't understand why your presence feels heavier, why your eyes seem calmer, why your words cut deeper. But they'll feel it, because power is felt before it's seen. Your consistency will become your crown. Your patience will become your armor. Your silence will become your sword. You won't need to shout to be heard. The world will lean in, because power whispers. So when boredom returns, and it will, don't curse it. Welcome it. Sit with it like an old friend. Let it teach you again what the noise made you forget. Because every time you endure it, you're refining your edge, deepening your roots, strengthening your core. The man who can master boredom can master the world, because the world is nothing but waves of chaos disguised as opportunity. And while others drown, you will walk across it, not because you had more strength, but because you had more stillness. That is the promise. If you can learn to stay when others flee, to build when others break, to endure when others escape, there will come a day when your silence roars louder than their noise. Your discipline will echo through everything you touch. Your calm will command rooms without a word. Your focus will bend circumstances like gravity. Because in a world where everyone screams to be seen, the one who masters stillness becomes unforgettable. And that is the test the universe gives only to the few who are ready for greatness. Not the test of talent, not the test of intelligence, but the test of endurance. The test of whether you can keep building when the applause stops. Whether you can keep moving when progress is invisible. Whether you can stay loyal to the process when the outcome feels far away. Because that is where most men break. They confuse slow growth with failure. They walk away from their own becoming. But the man who stays, the man who endures the quiet, is the one who rewrites his fate. Every generation has a small number of people who understand this law. They are the calm in the storm, the ones who see patterns in chaos. They move with such precision that the world assumes they were born with some secret advantage. But the secret is no mystery. It's discipline disguised as divinity. It's the art of showing up, of mastering boredom, of holding the same standard when no one's watching. That's the hidden root of all mastery. The world sees the flower, it never studies the soil. But you, if you've come this far, you're here to study the soil. You're here to learn the laws that shape power itself. Because power doesn't shout. Power moves slowly, deliberately, like gravity shaping mountains. Every act of discipline pulls your life into alignment. Every refusal to be distracted strengthens your orbit. Every small, quiet choice compounds into control. And when that control becomes natural, when it becomes effortless, the world bends around you. The undisciplined call it luck. The wise call it inevitability. You begin to see how Stoicism wasn't just a philosophy. It was a weapon. It was how Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while remaining calm in chaos. It was how Epictetus, born a slave, became freer in mind than his masters. It was how Seneca faced death not with fear, but with clarity. This is the essence of the Stoic mindset, to build an unshakable core so strong that no storm can break it. To train your mind until peace becomes your natural state, until nothing external can enslave your emotions again. Because emotion is power misdirected. When you master emotion, you master energy. When you master energy, you master reality. That's what Stoicism really teaches. It's not about suppressing feeling, but about transmuting it, turning chaos into clarity, turning pain into purpose, turning fear into fire. That's the alchemy of discipline, the transformation of suffering into strength. The world teaches the opposite. It tells you to seek comfort, to follow feelings, to chase pleasure. But pleasure without purpose is poison. Comfort kills more dreams than failure ever will. You cannot live like everyone else and expect to rise above them. The man who craves ease will always be ruled by those who endure difficulty. That's the cold law of life. One few accept, but all obey. To become powerful, you must first become disciplined. To become free, you must first become controlled. To become extraordinary, you must first embrace the ordinary. Every day, the universe asks you one silent question: can you do it again? Can you rise when no one cheers? Can you build when no one believes? Can you repeat the same disciplined act for years until mastery becomes inevitable? Most can't. But if you can endure the boredom others fear, you will inherit a power they'll never touch. Because the mind you build through discipline becomes a fortress no one can invade. It becomes your empire. Think of your mind like a kingdom. Every undisciplined thought is a rebel trying to overthrow the throne. Every impulse is a whisper of betrayal. You must rule them with clarity. You must lead with command. That's what self-mastery means. It's not about denial, it's about dominion. To rule your own mind so completely that no emotion dictates your direction, no temptation steals your focus, no fear halts your progress. That is true sovereignty, the kind the Stoics spoke of, the kind Machiavelli dissected, the kind every great man embodied. Because power, in its purest form, begins within. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone. If you cannot master your own desires, you will become a slave to them. If you cannot control your thoughts, someone else will. The world belongs to those who govern their inner empire. The rest merely live within the walls of others' design. That's why discipline is divine. It's the bridge between potential and power, between what you dream and what you manifest. And every repetition, every act of self-control, every quiet refusal to give in, that is you building that bridge. Step by step, stone by stone, you want to change your life. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is emotion. It fades, it deceives. What you need is discipline, the will to act without mood, to move without permission, to build without applause. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It moves anyway. It endures anyway. It builds anyway. That's the Machiavellian truth behind every strong man you admire. They didn't feel powerful. They acted powerful, and power followed. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew the mind is both the battlefield and the weapon. Every day you wake and either sharpen it or dull it. Every distraction is a small defeat. Every disciplined act is a small victory. Over time, those victories form character, and character is destiny. Your habits are your empire. Your thoughts are your soldiers. Your attention is your crown. The man who guards them well will rule long after others have fallen. And when you truly grasp this, your relationship with time changes. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop craving shortcuts. You start to see time as the ultimate test of truth. Because nothing false endures time. Distractions fade. Trends die, noise disappears. But consistency, it builds monuments. Every hour of discipline is another stone in your legacy. You are either wasting time or weaponizing it. The choice is yours every single day. So what do you do now? You take this philosophy and make it a practice. Turn your life into your own Stoic experiment. Wake up and write like Marcus Aurelius. Reflect like Seneca. Endure like Epictetus. Plan like Machiavelli. Train like a warrior. Think like a philosopher. Move like a strategist. You are both student and king, both builder and architect of your destiny. The boring days are your battleground. The silent hours are your training ground. And when the noise comes, and it will, you will not be moved, because you will have built your peace on the rock of discipline. That is the heart of mental toughness, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. To feel anger and not act on it, to feel fear and still move forward, to feel doubt and still commit. The weak call this cold, the wise call it controlled. The one who can control himself controls the world. You are not here to be average. You are not here to entertain. You are here to evolve. Every video, every message, every philosophy you encounter under the Stoic mindset is not meant to comfort you. It's meant to awaken you. Because the world doesn't need more dreamers, it needs more doers. It doesn't need more noise, it needs more direction. And that direction begins in the mind, your mind. The moment you decide to master it, the world begins to bend. So let them call you boring. Let them laugh while they scroll and sleep and repeat. Because while they waste time, you are building eternity. While they chase pleasure, you are sculpting purpose. While they seek validation, you are becoming undeniable. And when the day comes that your work stands tall, when your calm radiates in chaos, when your focus outlasts their excitement, they will understand. But by then, it will be too late for them. You'll already be gone ahead, living on your own terms, answering to no one but your purpose. And that's the promise I'll leave you with. Not a fantasy, not motivation, but a fact. If you commit to discipline, if you embrace boredom, If you train your mind daily through Stoicism, through reflection, through repetition, you will become a force that cannot be ignored. The world may not notice you at first, but when it does, it will wonder how you became so composed, so unbreakable, so powerful. And the answer will be simple: you mastered yourself. Now, listen carefully. If this message resonates with the deepest part of you, if you feel that hunger to rise above mediocrity, to build an unshakable mind, to live with purpose and precision, then this is your moment. Don't just feel inspired, act. Take control of your mind before the world takes it from you. Subscribe to the Stoic Mindset and step into a community built on strength, philosophy, and transformation. Every week, you'll get teachings forged from Stoicism, discipline, self-mastery, philosophy, and Machiavellian strategy, designed to sharpen your mindset, deepen your focus, and harden your spirit. Turn every word into action. Turn every day into practice. Let this be the moment your evolution begins. Comment below what principle you're going to master this week. Share this with someone who's ready to level up mentally and emotionally. And remember, the goal isn't to be louder. It's to be stronger. The goal isn't to chase power. It's to become it. Because this isn't just a YouTube channel. This is your training ground for greatness. Welcome to the Stoic Mindset, where philosophy meets power and discipline becomes destiny.